everybody, and welcome back to Time to Go. Bob here, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the G-Shock Rangeman. Now this is a watch that was designed for outdoor activities, and today I thought I'd bring this video to the outdoors. We are in a hiking area near where I live. Now the reason I ended up picking up the G-Shock, I had done a state of the collection video a few weeks ago, and I had some really great suggestions from viewers on different watches that I could either add or take away from the collection, and one of those was a G-Shock. Now, I don't want to mention the viewer's name in case he doesn't want me to, but not only did he make the suggestion, he actually helped me in deciding the right G-Shock for me. He was very knowledgeable, and I ended up settling on the Rangeman. So let's spin the camera around and we'll take a closer look. Alright guys, so in the background you're going to just see the typical G-Shock packaging, so I'm not going to go into much detail there. The one thing I will point out though is the instruction booklet. Although it looks quite thick and intimidating, it's only about a quarter of that is in English. It's in multiple languages. Now as far as the specs on the G-Shock go here, it's a little bit tricky to get some of the measurements just due to the design of the watch, but I tried to do my best. So for the case width, I took a measurement from the triple sensor here to the guards over here on this side of the watch and came up with right around 53 millimeters. I had a lug to lug of 55 millimeters. We have a lug width of 24 millimeters, and at its highest point, which is right here near the bottom light function button, I had a case thickness of 18 millimeters. The watch is 200 meters water resistance. Now there's a lot of other specs to do with this watch when it comes to some of the functions, such as the tolerances of the thermometer, the maximum and minimum temperature it'll read. Same goes with the altimeter. So I'm not going to go into all of those specs, but I will leave a link below if you are interested in any of that information. You'll be able to find it there. Before I get into the functions of the Rangeman here, just want to give you guys kind of a tour of what else is going on the outside of the watch, and I want to start off with the buttons. So as usual with most G-Shocks, we have the forward reverse buttons. Here we have the adjust button in the upper left and the mode button in the bottom left. In the middle here we have the backlight button. I'll just light it up for you guys for a second. And on the right we have, with this really cool red stripe, the button for the ABC functions. That's altimeter, barometer, and compass. Now these buttons are metal and they have a kind of a cool little grippy texture to them. I believe they are stainless steel, although they kind of have that gray look of titanium, so I'm not 100% sure on that. Now, if we flip the watch over, we'll see here we have the Rangeman cat logo or character on the back of the case back. I think it's kind of cool that they've given all of the Master of G watches their own kind of cool mascot almost, and kind of neat. The straps on the Rangeman are held to the case by these screws here, and although the strap is a little bit on the stiff side, I've been finding it to be quite comfortable. Now, if you look on the underside of the strap, you're going to see along each side there are these little bumps, and I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but they seem to serve two purposes. One being they give the strap breathability. The other being, I find when the watch is on wrist, the keeper tends to want to sit in between two of those bumps, and it holds it in place quite nicely. Now, speaking of the keeper, they've opted for this, which is signed G-Shock, they've opted for this stainless steel keeper versus a rubber or plastic one, which gives it a little bit of extra durability. Also, the buckle with the nice double tang here is quite big and beefy. It just goes with the overall look of the Rangeman. Now, I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown of the functions of the Rangeman, but before I do that, there's a couple of key features that I just wanted to point out. The first one is the Rangeman is a solar-powered watch, and second of all, the Rangeman is equipped with a multi-band atomic timekeeping. So this thing receives signals up to 6 times per day and makes a correction to your time, keeping the watch very accurate. So as long as you have this thing out in the sun or in a little bit of light from time to time, you're basically never going to have to set it again. So as far as the functions go, I'm not going to go into great detail. There are some videos that do that, and they do a fantastic job of it that you can look up. But there are two ways to access the functions. There is the mode button, which gives you some of the more basic functions of the watch. And then here on the right, we have the ABC button, which gives you the altimeter, barometer, and compass functions. So we'll start off here with the altitude function. Just a quick breakdown of what we're looking at. So we have the altitude here at the bottom of the screen. Just above that, we have the current time. And at the top, we have an altitude graph, which is just going sideways as we're not making any changes to the altitude at the moment. We can also change that over to relative altitude and back to the graph here. And in the little subdial, you can't tell because, again, we haven't changed altitude, but there is an indicator that shows the difference between the most recent reading and the previous reading, showing the change in altitude between those two readings. So the next function that we're going to go to is, I'm going to skip over here to the barometer. So on this screen, we have the barometric pressure at the bottom of the screen. Above that, where the time was on the altimeter mode, we have the temperature. And above that, we have a barometric graph. So basically, if the graph is on an upward trend, that is telling you that there is good weather coming, and downward trend shows that there is going to be a tendency more towards bad weather coming. Now, on the little subdial here, that shows you the same as the altimeter, the current reading of barometric pressure versus the previous one on the chart, just showing you whether it is in an upward or downward trend. So the last of the ABC functions is the compass, and I'll just give you a little rundown here. So on the bottom of the screen, we are showing the direction in degrees. Above that, we have our home time again, and then at the top, we have the direction. In our subdial, we have a typical compass with a little pointer pointing north. Now, in this function, you can also set a bearing by pushing the forward button here on the bottom right. That sets your bearing, and it also has a little indicator in the subdial as to which direction your bearing is at. Other than the ABC functions, the rest of the modes or functions on this watch, for the most part, other than one in particular, are pretty standard to G-Shocks. We'll go through them here in a second, but the most important function of the watch is the timekeeping mode, which we're on now. This is kind of the home screen. So on the bottom, we have our time. Above that, there's a small little bar that shows your battery life indicator. There is the day and the date. In the subdial, we just have a running seconds, and just below that here on the left, we have a RC indicator that tells us whether or not the watch was able to receive the signal the last time it had made the attempt to. So if we hit the mode button, the first mode that comes up is the world time mode. And one of the cool things about this mode on this watch, as opposed to just having the initials like NYC or PAR, the full name of the city actually scrolls across the screen as well. So down here we show the time in the time zone that we're looking at, and just above that is your home time is displayed at all times as well. So the next function that we're going to look at here, we have just a typical stopwatch. It does have a split time feature. Next up we have a countdown timer. Next to that, we have your alarms, and the next feature to me is one of the coolest features of the watch, and this is your sunrise and sunset time for today. The one thing I will point out, I am currently in the New York City time zone, but I do live in Toronto, so you do have to adjust the longitude to make this accurate. If you go through the instruction booklet, it's quite easy. I just thought I would mention that though. And also you can actually go through the dates. You can go backward or forward. and see what the sunrise and sunset times are on different dates as well. Next up, we have the recall mode, and I should have mentioned this before, but when you're in the ABC functions, you can actually save data. So you can save a temperature, you can save your bearing, you can save your altitude, and also the barometric pressure at a given time. And this mode allows you to bring that saved data back up. The next mode, and this is the last mode, is the RC mode. So right now this is displaying the last time it attempted to get signal. We received signal at 12:03 on the 10th. And you can also turn the receive on manual or automatic in this mode as well. So that's pretty much it for the functions. Again, you can go into much greater detail with some of these functions, and there's some really cool videos that do that. But that's going to be it for here for now. I'm going to just throw it on wrist for a quick second for you guys. Okay, so the one thing I have to say is when I first picked this watch up, my initial impressions were, holy cow, this thing is massive. And it is a big watch. It's broad, it's tall, it's thick, and but it's an outdoor watch. It's meant to be rugged, and it looks rugged. This isn't a watch I'm wearing to work or anything like that. This is going to be for outdoor activities, you know, camping, kayaking, that sort of thing. And so far, I'm just loving it. I love the look. I love the overall design. Like I mentioned before, I just love the look of those metal buttons. And I think it's a fantastic watch. I don't really have any cons other than one that I've read about on a few different websites, and that is the lugs failing. I've seen and heard a few different stories about the lugs failing and the strap falling off, so I can't attest to that firsthand. And maybe if you guys have had any experience with that, you can let me know in the comments section below. So far, so good with this one for me. So that's going to be it for today's talk on the Rangeman. Let's spin the camera around and we'll wrap up today's video. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for today's review. I really hope you enjoyed it. Also, just a quick update on the channel. This Friday I am going away. I'll be gone for 1 week. I'm going to be putting together a cool little travel vlog for you guys. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before you see me again. But when I come back, I will have the travel vlog and lots more watch content coming out very soon. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Okay, so as you can see, this fits just nicely under a shirt cuff here. It is really versatile. You can really dress this watch up, and